Today I'm going to talk about the single biggest mistake that I see businesses and especially online brands make when they want to grow their business and want to get to the next level in their income so that they can actually create the business that they want, the business by design, so that they can achieve and experience what they are after as far as impact, as far as revenue, and as far as lifestyle. Hey, my name's Jesse Eker, and today's video is extremely important and one I really want to share with you because I just got off a really amazing session with a student, and we talked about this concept that I see so many entrepreneurs and online brands make in today's day and age, because there's just so much going on. There's so many different tactics you can use, so many different strategies you can implement. And one of the things I just want to reassure you is that they all work. It's not what the strategy is, it's how you're doing it. So if you're not seeing the results that you really want, the first thing that you need to think about is, what am I doing that's not achieving that result? Because if someone else is getting it, then it most likely works. It's just not how you're doing it is working. But that's not the biggest mistake, because the biggest mistake I see is a very common one. And logically it makes sense to do, but when it comes down to it, and the way that I'm gonna share it with you, hopefully is gonna illustrate that this actually becomes a huge problem for you to start thinking about, how do I approach this differently? So when we think about growing our business, like that's what the goal for most business owners and entrepreneurs is. They want to grow their business so that they can achieve the impact of who they help, the revenue goals of what they have, and the lifestyle dreams that they want. And when you get to a certain point, you might say, hey, I don't really need to grow my business, I need to sustain my business, or maybe I want to sell my business so I can pursue something different. Whatever your goals are, for most people, they're in the phase of, I want to grow my business. So when you think about growing, you think about growing bigger, right? Growing bigger. But I wanted to talk to you about this difference between expanding versus stretching. And when we expand, we grow. So we go from small to expand to get bigger, right? We evolve to get bigger. But what most entrepreneurs and business owners, especially online brands, are doing is, instead of expanding, they think they're growing, but they're actually stretching, which is very linear. Expanding is getting bigger, higher, stretching is going linear. And what ends up happening is they end up defocusing on what they're doing because they're trying to expand and scale, but the process of how they're doing it is incorrect or not working out. And this is a huge problem. So many people believe that you need to be everywhere, right? You need to be omnipresent. That's the big word. Omnipresence is how you're gonna win the game. You need to be everywhere for everyone, right? And I just think that's a bad message. It works, but I think it's a bad message because it hurts you in the long run as when you're expanding and trying to grow. So what is really important here is, if there's a mechanism or a strategy or a tactic that works, and then you're like, okay, this is starting to work, like I'm starting to see some good results, how do I get more of those results? So you're like, okay, I'm working on Instagram right now and I'm seeing some great results. How do I get more results? Well, I think I should go to Facebook. So then you go and start doing the same thing on Facebook. And it may work similar or it may not work similar. But guess what you've just done? You might have started to see more results, but you've actually stretched your efforts out, because what you're doing on Instagram isn't systemized and processed for you to not be needed in there anymore. So before you start to stretch yourself out and go somewhere else to maximize what you're doing, I need you to start thinking about, how do I create a process and a system for me not needing to be there anymore, so it becomes a constant source of results and processes of an output that gets me a consistent result on over time without me needing to be there. So if I was like, hey, Instagram is really working right now for me, now what I would need to do is, instead of going and saying, okay, let me go to Facebook and start to deviate my energy, I would put my energy in buying some time with someone else or getting some help so that I create a system of getting this constant result. And so now you have this result of Instagram, and then you have someone else doing the things that you need to do to keep that result going. And then you're like, okay, now the result is there. and I don't need to be there to make it work. It's there, and maybe I need to do some things to keep it going, but someone else is handling it, right? And so then now I'm gonna go and say, okay, now I'm gonna go to Facebook, I'm gonna master that, because now I have the mental capacity, the energy, the time to be able to actually put into the effort of making this work. And now what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna have this constant result over here, and you're gonna start creating a new result over here, which is gonna start to build off of each other. So on the call, I was like, you create one rock, and then you create another rock, you put them together, and you got a boulder of now growth, right? Instead of going Instagram and being like, okay, I'm gonna use the same efforts over here, and now I'm gonna just stretch myself thin, and what if this isn't working? And what if this stops working, right? What are you gonna do? Like now you have to shift focus and try to do it, and you're gonna get less effective results. Think about this with everything that you're doing. Are you starting to stretch yourself because you're trying to maximize and grow without a system and process in place and someone else to handle it? Are you just stretching your own time? And this is what most people do within their business, right? They hear all these different things that they could be doing. They have to do organic marketing and reaching out and doing videos and creating content, and then they need to actually deliver their service, and then they actually need to sell people, and then they start to like feeling like, okay, well, I got a client and I have to deliver it. Now I have to go and create more stuff, and I'm in this windfall of stretch myself completely thin with no growth. And then you're so stressed out, you try to add people into your team and you try to delegate things, and it's all sloppy and you just don't get the results that you want. And you're like, why isn't this working? Well, the reason it's not working is because you need to think about expansion in a systemized and process way so that you can move from thing to thing to thing and give 100% of your energy to keep expanding the business versus stretching yourself so thin that you're needed in all the different places to make them work. Whew. This concept will change your business, it will change your life, it will change the results, the trajectory of what you're getting. So tell me, what was your biggest lesson from this video? What was your biggest takeaway from this video? And how are you gonna put it into action? I appreciate your time, I appreciate your attention. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this week's video, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.